All right, welcome back. So in 1983, on January 1, the Advanced Research Project Agency Network, the ARPANET, as it was called in the days, has adopted the Transmission Control Protocol standards. These are standards on how data could be transmitted between multiple networks. So we were having just the upper prior to 1983, there was just the ARPANET, and um, the only institutions that had access to it were the government institutions, um, more precisely those that have something to do with the U.S. Department of Defense, right? And so TCP/IP came, and then engineers started assembling a network of networks, and today it became the internet, and it's everywhere, and we are enjoying, and so social media and so on and so forth. Back in the days, it wasn't all that rosy. Now, so this since this what do you call it? The internet was born. Right? People now have to think about ways to share information. All right. So you could have information at one point, but could be accessed via the internet, okay, by multiple devices. All right. This is what we call the World Wide Web. Um, so the World Wide Web is just an information system where documents and other resources are identified by uniform resource locators, okay, which may be linked by hypertext and accessible over the internet, right? If we are having um, the internet, which is very wide, it's a wide network, right, all over the world, and you're having a lot of documents on computers, um, which are, in other words, called servers or dedicated computers to serve those documents. How do we identify them? How do you look for a specific document? In other words, if you, let's say, make a Google search, all right, how would Google be able to get information and give you links on exactly what you're looking for? So actually, the World Wide Web was a very, or is still a very useful information system. Okay, that gave us the opportunity to identify our resources so that people could target those resources and reach them. All right. So, for example, when you say www.facebook.com, essentially what you are saying is that you want to access whatever information or web pages are stored on the Facebook server. Okay, so this, as I mentioned, it was invented by Sir Tim Berners-Lee, right, in March 1989 when he was working at the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN. All right, let's look at the World Wide Web. Okay, this is more like a minified or compressed version because we don't have a lot of time to go into the details of how the web works and all that and all that. What we do know is that the World Wide Web gives users access to a vast array of documents, right? And these documents, as we mentioned, they are identified by specific uh, links, all right? Uh, what we call the hyperlinks or electronic connections that are that link related pieces of information, right? Okay. And so these documents in web technology, um, we call them web pages. They are formatted in hypertext markup language or HTML, and so now you are seeing why we need to learn HTML. As we mentioned, web pages do not contain just uh, text. Remember in the first lecture when we were talking about hypermedia, we looked at videos, audio, and other uh, stuff that could be displayed or rendered in the browser to be part of hypermedia. Now, to get a quick understanding of how this World Wide Web works, let's look at this diagram here. On the far right, we have a computer here called a web server. Okay, on the far left, there is web browser into bracket client. Now in the middle, you have the internet, which is more like the cloud. Well, today we are saying cloud computing and the rest. Anyway, let's just keep it as internet. Okay. Let's look at the top arrow over here. It says request for web page. Then request for web page, and then web page HTML file, web page HTML file. What does it mean? Well, let's say a client here, a user, say you, me, right? So we have requested for a web page uh, from this server. Okay, so let's say we type in www.facebook.com. Okay, that request will pass through the internet. It will get to this web server. In this case, because we requested for Facebook's web page, this is Facebook's web server, and so it's going to respond with the HTML, okay, page, HTML web page, all right, to us. So this will be HTML file, but by the time it gets to our browser knows how to uh, display it well, okay, so that it becomes the HTML web page that we see. Okay, all right. So we make a request to the server responds with some value, right? Some information or none, depending on how that web server is configured. Okay. So how would the server know that we are making a request for a web page and not putting a new web page there? Well, Satine Berners-Lee came out with these protocols called the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP. All right, and so they kind of defined how this um, server, how a server and the client can communicate over the internet. Right, um, they do this by using certain commands. There are a lot of them, but the most common ones here are get, post, put, and delete. Get request a representation of the specified resource. So what it means is that the request that we made to the server here, that we want um, the web page, we want www.facebook.com page to display. This is a get request, so the server will now respond to that get request with the Facebook web page. Okay, post. So um, is used to submit an entity to the specified resource. Right. So let's say uh, you are on Facebook, right, and you have created a new post, okay, and then you clicked on post. Uh, that post that you have clicked on has nothing to do with this post, but it just so happens that it's a coincidence that all of them have the same name. Basically, you have created a new post, all right, so coincidentally just matches up with the function of this, that kind of creates a new um, uh, entity, okay, resource. For example, so when you click on post, what happens at the server side is that it stores your new post that you have created so that you can access it. People, your friends can also see it on your timeline. All right. If it is a user account that you have created and you have entered your first name, last name, and all those things, and you've clicked on submit or create account, what you actually do is that you are sending a post request to the server. So the server knows that you are creating a new account. So it creates a new account there for you. So that's what post is used for. What about put? Now, let's say you have some old information and you want to update it, right? So instead of say update, they say put. Right? Why it is put, I have no idea. But put is the same as update. If you understand what an update is, that is put. Okay. What about delete? This is self-explanatory, right? It deletes whatever it is. So you can delete your post on Facebook, or you can delete your Facebook account, right? Now WhatsApp is around, so we send messages and delete messages and so on and so forth. So the delete actually removes whatever resource you have specified from the server, so it is no more accessible from the server. All right, this is all that we have for this particular lecture. We'll be back and we'll start talking about HTML proper.